After my first game with the Rhombus NOVA.R3, I thought to myself, man, this is exactly what the Yellow Perseus should have been, but it wasn't. Let's dive in and see how this might be the best all-court paddle to date. The new NOVA.R3 has the same innovative technology as its predecessor, the Rhombus NOVA.R1. That includes their Gen 3 woven carbon fiber edge. This new edge grid technology basically allows hot air to be released from the paddle during the thermoforming process and while playing. I haven't played with this long enough to prove this, but with the patent they have and the explanation they give, it's pretty convincing that this is legit. This paddle comes in at $160 with discount code BrionesPB at checkout. Rhombus gives a 6-month warranty, which is more than most paddle brands. I love to see that warranty times are getting larger and hopefully more companies follow suit. But the specs for this paddle are as follows. 16.5 inch in length, 5.5 inch grip length, comes with a stock weight of 8.1 ounces, a swing weight of 120, has a standard raw Toray T700 carbon fiber face that is very smooth to the touch. It has your standard injected foam in the perimeter of the paddle and comes with a honeycomb core that is 16 millimeters thick. This paddle felt good in its stock weight, which is always a pleasant surprise. With the swing weight of 120, it had good plow through, but I could see where that swing weight could cause problems when it comes to hands battles at the net for some people. The unfortunate thing is that the sweet spot size felt pretty middle of the road when comparing to other thermoform paddles on the market and didn't have the best twist weight. As a paddle company, you really have to nail those two things when your swing weight is on the higher side. It leaves so little room to add lead tape to it to help with the sweet spot size and stability issues. I, of course, added lead to this quickly after getting it, which should be no surprise. But in its stock form, I'd say this is an average paddle. Not horrible, not great, just decent. It has a great feeling sweet spot and dinks felt amazing, but didn't have the stability that I'm looking for when hitting off-center shots. But when you add some additional weight to its perimeter, it greatly enhances the sweet spot size and fixes all the stability issues I had with it with the low twist weight. I did have my typical lead tape setup, which I am going to be making a full video about very soon, where I have 5-inch long, 1/2 inch thick lead tape positioned 1 inch up from the throat of the handle. I soon realized this was far too much weight to be added to a paddle that already had a swing weight of 120. But I am stubborn and wanted to keep the same setup as I typically do to try it out. It didn't end very well. I could not for the life of me dial in any kind of shot. I was missing easy layups that should never be missed out of nowhere. I ended up taking 0.25 ounces off of the paddle, which was 2 inches off of each side. That brought the total paddle weight down from 8.96 ounces to 8.71 ounces, which made a significant improvement when controlling my shots. I have found that the ideal weight for me when adding lead to a paddle is right around 8.6 to 8.7 ounces. Once I found the perfect weight for this paddle, I had a ton of freaking fun. This is the most neutral paddle that I think I've ever played with. This is exactly what Rhombus was going for when making this paddle, and they nailed it. It doesn't feel as soft as something like the Vatic Prism, and not as firm as something like the 6-0 Double Black Diamond. If these two paddles were on a scale of how firm paddle feels, the NOVA.R3 would be smack dab in the middle. It somewhat reminds me of a watered down version of how the new gearboxes feel. The feel off the paddle adapts to the type of shot you're trying to hit. When hitting a drive or a serve, you can feel its stiffness and stability, but when hitting a third shot drop or a dink, it softens in your hand and you can feel it sink into the paddle's face for a nice, plush, responsive feel. This actually took me some time trying to get used to. It's a very different experience when playing with a paddle that doesn't have a consistent feel for all the shots that you hit. After getting used to it, I did enjoy this adaptive feeling paddle face. With Rhombus trying to make this paddle as balanced as possible, you'd assume you get something that is pretty average at everything. But even with a paddle as neutral as this one, it still has strengths and weaknesses. And the strength of this paddle is its soft game. Playing at the kitchen line with this was an absolute blast. Because it softens up in the hand when hitting finesse shots, moving the ball around in the kitchen was noticeably easier than with something like the Carbon 1X or even the Double Black Diamond. This offered me a worry-free dinking experience to where I could focus more on strategic dinks rather than worrying about hitting a pop-up or hitting into the net. Strategic dinking and patiently waiting for the right opportunity to initiate an offensive move was what I enjoyed most while using this paddle. With serves and drives, the control off the face of this paddle was pretty average. Nothing like the Carbon 1X, but more controlled than the Yola Perseus. I didn't have a difficult time controlling drives with this necessarily, but it definitely wouldn't be my go-to pick if I were playing in a singles tournament. I had no problem being offensive with drives and serves with this paddle. It gives you a decent amount of power, but it isn't overwhelming. I wasn't winning more points than normal because of its power, unlike other paddles such as the new Gearbox Pro Power. This isn't an issue necessarily because Rhombus wasn't trying to make this a power paddle. It's the same story when it comes to pop. Hands battles at the net felt fine, didn't feel like I was getting held back because of the lack of pop, but didn't feel like I was getting ahead in those exchanges because of it either. I will say that if you decide to put lead tape on this paddle and you don't have the fastest hands, firefights at the net will be an issue for you. The swing weight is already on the high end and lead tape will not help with that. Where I did see myself winning a couple extra points was because of the spin I was able to generate. The spin is so aggressive, it makes drives and serves with a paddle with average power into something lethal. I found myself hitting more loopy serves and half drives than ever before. Could I go and play in a tournament with this paddle? Yes, absolutely. Would it be my go-to pick? No, it wouldn't. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't for you. This paddle is made for someone who wants the best all-round paddle in the game. It doesn't have a standout strength or weakness and is the most neutral all-court paddle that I have played with. If I wasn't able to control the pop of something like the 6-year double black diamond, which is my go-to paddle currently, this would be one I'd consider switching to. If someone was just getting into the game of pickleball and they wanted to know what paddle they should start with, this is one I would suggest. It gives you enough power to be aggressive and enough of a soft feel to where control shots aren't unmanageable. And with the price tag of $160 with discount code Briones PB and a 6-month warranty, it's a great value for what it offers. That's it for today's video, and I thank all of you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next review.